A man worth $11 billion flew coach last month. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. You think that sounds fake. You think somewhere there's a private jet waiting for him on the other end. There isn't. I checked. Here's the thing nobody tells you about real wealth. The kind that lasts 3 generations instead of getting torched by generation 2. It has almost nothing to do with what these people buy. It has everything to do with what they refuse to buy. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the poorest looking person in the room is sometimes the richest one in it, and why one decision, made in under 60 seconds, quietly separates people who stay rich from people who just look rich for a while. But first, I need you to sit with something uncomfortable. There's a habit on this list, habit number 7, that feels completely backwards. It feels like the opposite of ambition. And it's the one habit almost every self-made billionaire I've studied shares. I'll get there. Stay with me. Let's start with closets, because closets tell the truth faster than bank statements do. Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck for 20 years. Everyone knows that story. It's practically a meme at this point. But almost nobody knows why. In his own words, he didn't want to spend willpower on something that didn't matter. He was protecting a limited resource, decision-making energy, the same way you'd protect cash flow. Psychologists later put a name on this: decision fatigue. Every choice you make in a day, no matter how small, drains the same tank. Choosing a shirt at 7 a.m. uses the same mental fuel you'll need at 4 p.m., when a real decision, the one worth actual money, lands on your desk. Here's the reframe. You've probably been taught that variety is a luxury. More options, more freedom, more status. But the ultra-wealthy treat options like a tax. Every unnecessary choice is a small withdrawal from an account that funds the choices that actually compound. That's not deprivation, that's architecture. Think about your own mornings for a second. How many minutes do you lose standing in front of a closet full of clothes, feeling like you have nothing to wear? Now multiply that by every day you've been alive. That's not time. That's compound interest running in the wrong direction. Second habit. And this one's going to sting a little, because I guarantee someone in your life does this every single week. They don't upgrade their car. Warren Buffett drove the same Cadillac for years after buying a brand new one, and only bought the new one because his old one, according to his own daughter, was starting to look a little embarrassing next to his neighbors. Not because he cared about status. Because he finally admitted the old one was distracting people from the conversation, not him. The car wasn't an asset. It was noise. Here's the fact that should genuinely bother you. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot, and close to 60% within 5 years. That's not a purchase. That's a bonfire with cup holders. The wealthy aren't driving old cars because they're cheap. They're driving old cars because depreciation is the most predictable, most avoidable leak in every household budget in America. And they refuse to fund it voluntarily. I want you to think about someone you know, a coworker, a cousin, maybe even your own reflection, who upgraded their car the same year money got tight. Not because the old one broke, because a new one showed up on Instagram first. That's not a coincidence. That's the entire consumer economy working exactly as designed, and it's designed to work on you. Third habit, and this is where it gets personal. They don't renovate to impress. Mark Zuckerberg for years lived in a house that a random Silicon Valley engineer could have afforded on salary alone. Not a mansion, not a compound. A house you'd drive past without a second glance. Meanwhile, there's a very specific kind of person, you probably know one, who gutted their kitchen the same year they were quietly drowning in credit card debt because the kitchen needed to look like success before the bank account actually was success. This is the part psychologists call the visibility trap. We don't upgrade the things that make us wealthier. We upgrade the things that make us look wealthier to people who, statistically, are not thinking about us nearly as much as we assume. There's a study on this. Social psychologists call it the spotlight effect. And it found people wildly overestimate how much others notice them. You're not being watched nearly as closely as your spending habits assume you are. Let that sink in for 1 second before we move on. Because this next one flips everything you think you know about how rich people spend their weekends. Fourth habit, they don't chase experiences to broadcast them. They chase experiences to actually have them. There's a difference, and it's a difference worth real money. A trip taken for the photos costs the same as a trip taken for the memory, but only one of them gets ruined by spending half of it staring at a phone screen trying to get the shot. The ultra-wealthy, the ones who actually stay wealthy, have quietly stopped performing their lives for an audience. Some of the richest people on earth run private social media accounts, or none at all. Not because they're hiding, because they figured out something most of us haven't. An audience is a form of debt. It demands upkeep. It expects a return. And you're paying interest on it every single day, in attention, in money, in decisions made for someone else's feed instead of your own life. Now, I promised you the one that feels backwards. Here it is. Fifth habit, and this is where minimalism stops being about stuff and starts being about people. They shrink their circle on purpose, not out of arrogance, out of math. There's a concept in economics called opportunity cost. Every yes to something is a silent no to something else. And the ultra-wealthy apply it ruthlessly to relationships, not just money. Every dinner you attend out of obligation. Every group chat that drains you instead of feeding you. Every friend who only shows up when they need something. That's not a full life. That's a leaking pipe. And most people never bother to find the leak because it doesn't show up on a bank statement. It shows up as exhaustion. Here's a story for you. A 28-year-old engineer I heard about, sharp, disciplined, saving aggressively, kept wondering why he never had energy left to build the side business he actually wanted. Turned out the answer wasn't his schedule, it was his phone. 40 minutes a night responding to a friend group that mostly just complained and never built anything. He didn't ghost anyone dramatically. He just quietly stopped initiating. Within 6 months, that wasted time became the exact time he used to launch what eventually became his real income. Nothing about his talent changed. His filter did. This is the part where I need to pivot on you, because everything I've said so far could sound like a lecture on being cheap. It's not. And if you walk away thinking minimalism equals poverty mindset, you missed the entire point. Here's the pivot. The ultra-wealthy aren't minimalists because they're avoiding spending. They're minimalists because they've already spent their attention on the one thing that actually compounds, and that thing is rarely visible from the outside. Cal Newport wrote a whole book on this idea without ever mentioning money once, called Deep Work. And the core argument is brutally simple. The ability to focus without distraction is becoming one of the rarest and most valuable skills in the modern economy, precisely because almost nobody protects it anymore. The wealthy don't declutter their closets because closets matter. They declutter their closets because clutter, of any kind, physical or social or digital, is the enemy of focus. And focus is the actual asset. Everything else on this list is just the visible symptom of that one invisible decision. Sixth habit, they don't multitask their money either. One system, one tracker, one clear number they check regularly instead of 5 apps, 3 spreadsheets, and a vague feeling of, I think I'm okay. Complexity feels productive. It isn't. It's just clutter wearing a suit. Seventh, and this is the one I told you about, they say no to good opportunities to protect room for great ones. This feels wrong because we're trained to say yes. Yes to the side hustle, yes to the extra project, yes to the investment your coworker won't stop texting you about. But every yes to a good opportunity is capacity you can no longer give to the great one when it finally shows up. And it always shows up for the person who kept room open, not the person who was already maxed out saying yes to everything. Eighth habit, they buy back time before they buy status. A cleaning service isn't a luxury to them. It's an hour returned to a life that compounds elsewhere. Ninth, they keep one version of everything. One good coat, one good pair of shoes, instead of 10 mediocre versions that all quietly demand decisions, storage, and guilt. And 10th, the quiet one, the one nobody posts about. They protect boredom. Actual, empty, unscheduled, unstimulated time. Because that's where the ideas that made them rich in the first place actually showed up. Not in a meeting, not on a phone. In the shower, on a walk, in the 15 minutes they refuse to fill with noise. So here's where that leaves you. Somewhere tonight, someone your age is standing in a closet full of clothes with nothing to wear, scrolling a phone full of people they don't even like, driving a car they can't afford to look like they've already made it. And somewhere else, someone with genuinely less noise in their life is quietly building something that'll outlast all of it. The difference was never the size of the bank account to start with. It was what they were willing to walk past without buying, without replying to, without saying yes to. You don't need $11 billion to start. You need one closet, one relationship, one Saturday of protected boredom. Pick one from this list, not all 10. One, do it this week and you'll feel the shift before you see it on any bank statement. If this video added value to your day, hit like, share it with your loved ones who need this, and subscribe for more insights. I'll see you in the next one.